Well, thank you very much for the invitation. My name is Markus. I'm actually a child of the sporting goods industry. So I spent a lot of years with ASICS, a Japanese sports brand. Moved then to Sport 2000 as the GM for Central Europe, and I'm now heading up a startup, actually a sports tech startup from the Netherlands, from Eindhoven. It's called Arion. And it's just amazing. It's so different to what I've learned and seen before, but it's amazing because it's a very young international team, very vibrant and agile, and I personally have a very steep learning curve. Every day I'm in the business, learning from young talents about how to code, for example, software engineers, from our biomechanical experts, some stuff, but also cultural differences and how we bring them together, So it's super interesting, and you see already that I have a big passion for people. It's totally international. I mean, like I said, we are a Dutch sports startup, but we have actually 10 different nationalities from Romania, Belarus, Bulgaria, Italy, France, and so on. So it's very international, and I love it. And I'm by far the oldest, to be honest. Our average is 32 years, so very young, and we have a great gender split, 50-50, and I love it. Well, it's also try and error, right? So there are certain communication styles, but I would move away from sending emails to the entire audience. Of course, it's a question of how large the corporation is at the end of the day, but the more personal discussion you have, the better it is. And the more frequent you have a discussion or a conversation, the better it is. And then try certain things. So for example, I send every Friday a video best news of the week to the entire team, where I actually talk about great things that happened throughout the week, and people really enjoy and love it, But then I also have one-on-ones and do walks and talks. I leave all the digital stuff on the side, and I go for a walk with the person and just listen and ask, how do you feel? How can I help you? Do you see any challenges, right? Do you have any creative ideas? These kind of things. Take employees serious and see them. When I mean see them, that means really realize you have people you work with. Well, I mean, new work, for me, to be honest, the first time I got in contact with that is years ago, and I felt, is it now a buzzword, or is it really a trend, or is it something serious you need to think about? And then I started to listen to podcasts, best practices. What are other CEOs doing, right? What can I do? And like I said, there is no one fits all, but you test certain things. And for me, I tested certain things, how I changed my leadership style, this old thing, command and conquer, doesn't work at all anymore. For me, it's a servant leadership, which means how can I help you in order for you to be successful? That's really relevant. And then I try certain things, and I also realize that I make mistakes, and I made mistakes, a lot of mistakes. But if you don't try, you will never find out. And then you test, you listen to others, you look for best practices, you ask your team, and this is how it develops actually over time. And to be honest, it's not a trend, it's there to stay. But it's also nothing you can see in isolation. It's the culture is important of the company, the purpose of the company is important, the business model, it all needs to fit together. You can't say, okay, today we do a little bit new work. That doesn't work, right? Because new work in itself actually tells us how we work and in which way we work, which tools we use, how we work. But that is only a little piece of the entire business approach we have. Well, for me, this whole generation bashing is the worst thing that happens, to be honest. It's the worst thing that happens because we have a skilled labor shortage, right? That's the next thing. More than 10 million baby boomer will leave the market, the job market, very soon. And only a cohort of 4.8 million of Gen Z will actually come into the marketplace. And it doesn't help at all. I'm a big believer and a big fan of tandems. And the tandem for me is you have an experienced person and a young, very talented and skilled person. You bring them together, they work hand in hand, and they can both benefit from each other. You know, the older one has the experience, the younger one has the skills, brings in the skills, and it's a fantastic match. It's only a win-win for both parties, for example. And I'm sure the younger generation will search and look much more careful which employer might be the next partner, right? So they want to see, okay, what is the culture all about? What are the values and so on? And companies have to speed up because they will see very, very soon that their old way of working doesn't work anymore. Well, there is a lot of power employees have, right? So together, in the best companies, you have an NPS tracker, so Net Promoter Score, which comes every quarter, and then the company will see how the engagement level looks like. And that should be an eye-opener for leaders, for CEOs and the management team to see, okay, how does the engagement level really looks like? And if it's bad, then they need to change it and they need to start a conversation with young people. But I'm also a big fan of mentoring and reverse mentoring. So I would always actually advise a young talent to say, look for a mentor. It doesn't need to be from the company, it can be from outside, but asking for tips, for help, for support. But at the same time, I enjoy reverse mentoring as well. So because I want to learn from you. How is it going in social media, for example, you know? And for me, that's really important. But as a group together, you can create a lot of power and put pressure on the management team, for sure. Well, actually, these strict rules are changing, right? And in a way, people love to, I mean, if someone is passionate about something and is engaged with the company, then they love to work, right? And then the work behavior is positive and it's great, right? But that's also something, is it their problem or is it mine? Do I, as a leader, need to work on that first and make sure that they are engaged, that they like what they do? So it's a little bit of give and get in a way. But definitely we need to be, as employers, much more flexible. You know, why do I need to sit behind a screen 5 days a week? For what reason? Is it because I don't trust you? Well, if I don't trust you, then there is already a problem, right? So everything is based on trust. You know, if you trust someone, success will kick in, you know, and that's for me the most important thing. And then it doesn't matter if one of my people sits in Romania, Bulgaria, or in India. You know, it doesn't matter. It's totally irrelevant. And I call it now homecation, right? If they want to go back to their parents because they miss them, they are young talents, 22, 23, 25, well, they should go, right? I know they work. I trust them because they love what they do. You know, and if I don't trust them, then don't do that. And, you know, think about it. Why is the trust missing? I think it's a very important topic. Don't see it in isolation, right? It's a comprehensive approach to it, and new work is actually, in a way, if you want to call it this way, just a piece out of it. How we work, in which way do we work? But it's much broader. It's culture, leadership, business model. You know, that values. That's really important actually. Purpose is something there, and I think we need to start now, and it's never too late.